The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
I do think we're going to lose additional properties on Thursday night.
California bracing for mudslides in fire-ravaged areas. What we now know about a life-threatening rainstorm and where Americans are facing a 1-2 punch of heavy snow. Then controversial cuts by Elon Musk endorsed by President Trump, where Congress stands on the Department of Government Efficiency as an oversight hearing gets underway. And concealing health problems from the office. Just how many Americans hide their conditions from coworkers and why? This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David. A parade of storms sweeping the United States with more than 80 million Americans right now under weather alerts. Fire-ravaged Californians are preparing for mudslides. But first, a second round of severe winter weather underway right now, stretching from the Midwest to the Northeast. 8 inches expected to hit Michigan today into tomorrow. Sleet and freezing rain wreaking havoc from Ohio to Washington, D.C. This after areas from Kentucky to the mid-Atlantic got hit with up to 8 inches of snow just yesterday. Virginia State Police reporting hundreds of driving accidents and dozens of injuries. We've seen huge impacts out west as well. Here's new video of a roof collapsing right over the school gymnasium yesterday in Medford, Oregon, under the weight of snow. An estimated 700,000 pounds of snow accumulated on the building. The Medford School District says the gym was empty at the time. We are also taking a look at a third developing storm. The Los Angeles Sheriff's Office has issued an evacuation warning ahead of a major rainstorm, stoking fears of life-threatening debris flows and mudslides in fire-scarred areas around L.A. It also includes areas around Redding, still recovering from floods earlier in the month.
Storms can bring sudden and severe conditions that make staying back home extremely risky.
And conditions are expected to persist through Saturday. Tonight, more tariffs on the way. The White House says President Trump is likely to announce a new tariff plan before meeting with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi tomorrow. Trump said this week he plans to impose reciprocal tariffs on countries that put import tariffs on the United States. House Speaker Mike Johnson said there could be exemptions for pharmaceutical and auto companies. And inflation picked up last month. Labor Department data shows prices increased 3% in January from a year ago, up from 2.9% in December and increasing from a low of 2.4% in September. The uptick was driven by higher grocery and car prices. Inflation sometimes inches higher in January, but government reports are designed to filter out those effects. Fed Chair Jerome Powell told Congress today more work needs to be done to hit their goals and beat inflation.
We're close but not there on inflation. And you did see today's inflation print, which says the same thing. I mean, we've made great progress toward 2%. Last year, inflation was 2.6%. So great progress, but we're not quite there yet.
Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency has been working on its own with President Trump's blessing. Congress officially joined in today with its first hearing focused on wasteful spending. The National News Desk's Matt Gelka has the latest in tonight's Waste Watch report from Washington.
Congress held its first DOGE-focused hearing, giving lawmakers their first chance to talk about the Department of Government Efficiency's work and how to actually implement it.
In this subcommittee, we will fight the war on waste shoulder to shoulder with President Trump, Elon Musk, and the DOGE team.
The hearing follows an Oval Office back and forth with reporters from President Donald Trump with DOGE's leader, billionaire Elon Musk, standing beside him at the Resolute desk.
The people voted for major government reform, and that's what people are going to get. They're going to get what they voted for.
Musk has led the charge against multiple agencies. 4 FEMA employees were fired this week after Musk accused the agency of breaking the law by sending $59 million to New York City last week to pay for what he claimed were luxury hotels for undocumented immigrants. The money was allocated by Congress last year as part of a program working with ICE and is separate from disaster relief. Trump doubled down and posted that FEMA should be terminated. A recent Inspector General's report on the agency said FEMA may have mismanaged almost $10 billion during the COVID pandemic. Critics say FEMA is one example of many throughout the government in need of an overhaul, which is where both the DOGE agency and the DOGE committee come in.
He said during the campaign that Elon Musk was going to be the person to lead this charge. He's the richest man on the planet because he succeeds at his endeavors.
The DOGE work outside of the congressional committee has led to firings, spending freezes, and a flurry of lawsuits claiming some of the action being taken is against the law. Democrats have been consistently critical of Musk himself and the apparent power he has.
This committee wants to empower the richest person in the world to hurt people so they can take all of this money that they so-called want to save and then give it to themselves.
While in the Oval Office with Musk this week, the president signed a new executive order giving DOGE even more power, mandating every federal agency work with DOGE to shrink the size of government. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
Matt, thank you. At least one person is still in the hospital in serious condition after an explosion near an airport in El Paso, Texas. Fire officials say something blew up near the Sun Metro bus headquarters yesterday, possibly a vehicle injuring 7 people and prompting immediate evacuations. 4 people were hospitalized. The assistant fire chief says they still don't know the cause.
Right now, the cause is still under investigation. I can't confirm anything at this time. So let's just be patient with that, and we'll get you the information as soon as we get it.
And a live look for you over San Francisco Bay, where nearby health officials from Contra Costa County are monitoring air samples, water and soil after a chemical fire burned for 3 days earlier this month. Martinez Refining Company, who operates the refinery that caught fire, said the byproducts from the fire could cause serious conditions, including cancer, heart and lung disease. All alerts have been lifted in the area, but the samples will continue to be watched for the next 30 days. South Carolina's heartbeat abortion ban faces the state's Supreme Court today. Lawyers for the state and Planned Parenthood are making their final arguments for and against the law that's currently in place. The 2023 law bans most abortions around 6 weeks after conception, marking the start of cardiac activity. However, Planned Parenthood and other abortion rights groups argue a fetal heart forms and starts activity around 9 or 10 weeks of pregnancy. The justices will likely take this month's issue to a ruling. A circuit appeals court has ruled in favor of the federal judge who blocked the Trump administration from pausing federal funds. The appeals court says both sides should remain patient and asked for further written arguments to support their side. Another hearing will be held on Thursday. The administration has asked for a final ruling by Friday. President Trump is now being sued by 8 of the inspectors general that he fired by email last month. The lawsuits argue Trump violated a statute requiring that he give Congress 30 days of advance notice. The IGs want a judge to order the government to give them their jobs back, plus back pay. Over 4 dozen lawsuits have been filed in federal courts challenging Trump's executive actions. During his first weeks in office, President Trump put a lot of focus on the prospect of the U.S. acquiring more territory from the Panama Canal to making Canada the 51st state. While some question if the president is serious, the National News Desk's Atra al-Nashar reports on how a group of senators is looking at what it would actually take to make Greenland part of the United States.
President Trump's musings about the U.S. acquiring Greenland, like make Greenland great again, haven't been taken seriously by much of Washington, it seems, until Wednesday.
What do you think that's not going to come for free? So what's that going to cost?
The Republican-led Senate Commerce Committee, chaired by Texas's Ted Cruz, gathering national security and Arctic science experts to talk logistics.
It is on the order of hundreds of billions of dollars.
The main argument for acquiring the Danish territory? Access to Greenland's natural resources. China essentially has a global monopoly on rare earth minerals, and Greenland has 39 of the 50 minerals the United States considers critical to national security.
And were Greenland to agree to this acquisition, the Greenlanders would get the invaluable asset of American citizenship.
But 85% of Greenlanders do not want to become part of the United States, according to a poll taken in late January.
Greenlanders I talked to were insulted that we were talking in this way about their own land, as if they're not even there. That it feels like we're saying they are an object that we can just take because we are the richest, most powerful country in the world.
Greenland was already laser-focused on gaining independence from Denmark. Last month, Greenlandic Prime Minister Mute Egda said, "We don't want to be Danes, we don't want to be Americans, we want to be Greenlanders." In Washington, there is bipartisan agreement the U.S. should step up its engagement with Greenland to prevent China and Russia from taking advantage of a security vacuum that could arise when and if Greenland separates from Denmark. Democrats argue, and most Republicans Wednesday acknowledged, the U.S. doesn't have to actually own Greenland to do that.
Now, two Republicans pushing back on the president's call to acquire Greenland, Senators Lisa Murkowski and Dan Sullivan of Alaska. They argue their home state already provides the U.S. all the Arctic benefits that come with Greenland.
Yeah, this is just such a fascinating concept. What does Denmark have to say about all of this?
Look, the Danes are just as opposed to this as Greenland is. In recent weeks, the Danish Prime Minister has been meeting with other European leaders and really garnering their support for Danish sovereignty and to rally behind the idea that during these tense geopolitical times with war in Ukraine and the Middle East, the U.S. needs to stand strong with its European allies, not burn bridges or worse, create a new conflict.
Certainly some headwinds ahead when it comes to the idea of acquiring Greenland. All right, thank you so much for that report, Atra al-Nashar from Washington, D.C. And coming up, after 3 years, could the Russia-Ukraine war be coming to an end? Where things stand as Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth addresses NATO on what a peace deal could look like. Then the popular pickup trucks being recalled because of a brake problem that could lead to a crash. And later, the animals attacking cyclists while they're biking on busy streets in one major city. We'll be right back. President Trump says he plans to meet with Russian President Putin face-to-face, and he says he's going to do it soon as the two leaders agree to begin negotiations to end the war in Ukraine. A first meeting is expected in Saudi Arabia at a date yet to be determined. Ukraine wants security assurances. Trump says Ukraine will get this and has agreed to offer its natural resources in return. The announcement comes after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth suggested that Ukraine will have to concede territory lost to Russian invaders.
We must start by recognizing that returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective. Chasing this illusionary goal will only prolong the war and cause more suffering.
Hegseth says NATO membership for Ukraine is also unrealistic. Putin has long objected to Ukraine's inclusion in the alliance. Hegseth says an international force without U.S. troops should provide security for Ukraine. The developments come as the White House announced it sent convicted dark web money launderer Alexander Vinnik back to Russia in exchange for wrongfully detained American teacher Mark Fogel. Vinnik pleaded guilty to conspiracy to launder billions of dollars through one of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges. He is accused of transferring that money to drug drug traffickers, ransomware attackers, and corrupt public officials.
Alexander Vinnick was a non-violent crypto criminal, and as part of this exchange, he has forfeited more than $100 million that he obtained in that illegal crime.
Tonight, positive signals that hostages will be released on Saturday, as was planned, while the Gaza ceasefire deal continues on shaky ground. Earlier this week, the militant group said it would delay the next hostage release after accusing Israel of violating the terms of a ceasefire by targeting Gazans with gunfire in various parts of the enclave, and also withholding the entry of promised humanitarian aid. The U.S. and Israel then responded with an ultimatum: release them by Saturday or see the war get reignited.
The president said all that we all need to know, which is Saturday, 12 o'clock. He expects there to be something different occurring, and if it's not, then there's going to be a big problem.
Egyptian mediators have signaled that warring sides are close to an agreement on the aid and other concerns, but the details of those talks are not quite public. Tulsi Gabbard is the new director of national intelligence after being confirmed by the Senate 52-48. All Democrats and former Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell voted against her. The Senate then voted on a procedural motion to move Robert F. Kennedy Jr. through for final confirmation. All Republicans supporting and all Democrats opposing. He is in line for final confirmation sometime tomorrow. And looking ahead this week, we've got Valentine's Day on Friday. Many people looking for those last-minute gifts online. Now, the Better Business Bureau is warning that this is the time when scammers strike. Our Tony Longfellow has a look at the most common ways consumers are getting duped.
It's the season of romance, but there's more than just love in the air. So are scams.
If the deal is too good to be true, it probably is.
Consumers are expected to spend around $26 billion this year on Valentine's Day gifts, flowers, meals, and more, according to the National Retail Federation. The Better Business Bureau says there are several common scams people should be aware of.
It's one of those holidays where people will jump online and Google the product that they're looking to buy. It could be flowers, it could be jewelry. It could even be an online dating site. Have to really watch out for that as well.
Schiller says when buying online, you need to verify the business is legit. You can do this by calling the business. Look for poor grammar and misspellings on their website, and copy the URL into GoDaddy.com to check the website's creation date.
Valentine's Day is, is a romance holiday. So people are leading with their hearts, not necessarily first with their heads.
Romance scams typically target vulnerable people that recently experienced a breakup. Scammers will try to gain sympathy, eventually leading to money and personal info. Phishing emails and fake e-cards are another way scammers can take advantage of you with romantic deals.
Tell everyone you cannot buy a dozen roses for $5, so don't click on the link and try to buy roses for $5. It's a scam.
CyberWorks in Green Bay specializes in cybersecurity and offers help to consumers and businesses. They suggest to avoid clicking on attachments, be skeptical of deals, and ignore unsolicited messages.
Big red flag is anytime they want information from you, name, email, if they're asking for a credit card to verify your identity, don't give them any information, nothing personal.
And that was Tony Longfellow reporting. More than 100,000 Toyota Tacomas are being recalled for faulty brakes that could increase the risk of a crash. 2024-2025 models with four-wheel drive are impacted. A gap near the rear brake hose could allow mud and dirt to build up, leading to damage of the hose, which could cause brake fluid to leak. To see if the recall applies to your car, you can head to Toyota's website and enter your car's VIN number. Almost 60% of American workers have chronic health problems, but many of them say they stay very quiet about them in the workplace. A new poll from Harvard's Chan School of Public Health finds most employees with conditions like heart disease have not officially told their employers. Many are worried it could hurt their careers. Around 25% of respondents said they actually did miss out on promotions because of their conditions. And tonight, a breakthrough clinical trial could help us learn a whole lot more about an aggressive form of blood cancer. Medical reporter Liz Bonas shares how it could keep this disease from coming back.
You see, since childhood, Carter Scheidler has loved baseball. So when he broke a rib playing,
I went to the ER and got some scans done, and that's when they found the mass in my chest.
that mass, shown as the dark spots you see here, turned out to be what's called diffuse large B-cell lymphoma, an aggressive form of blood cancer, according to Dr. James Essel. He's the medical director of the Blood Cancer Center here at Ohio's Oncology Hematology Care at the Jewish hospital Mercy Health.
It's curable, but without treatment is fatal within months.
Since Carter's was found early due to that injury, when he had another scan after high-dose chemo,
There was nothing there.
blood tests showed he also was negative for a protein linked to his cancer, leaving him feeling.
Like a weight was lifted off my shoulders for sure.
But Carter is now paying it forward. He's part of a control group being followed in a clinical trial. In those who do test positive for the tumor protein after treatment, it may prevent recurrence through what's called CAR-T therapy,
Which is, in this case, taking immune cells from a healthy donor, transforming those into cancer-fighting cells, then infusing those into the patient.
The hope is this will keep the cancer away in the 3 in 10 that do relapse with this type of disease.
Anybody that goes through cancer treatment, be it breast cancer or lymphoma, that at the end of your treatment, the big question is, am I cured? And the oncologist says, I hope so. That's not good enough. This could actually answer that question.
That was Liz Bonas reporting. Coming up, the action leaders in Texas believe is necessary to address a dramatic rise in complaints about teachers. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We're taking the pulse of America.
The head of the Texas Education Agency testified at the state capitol about public education funding. A relatively small budget item got disproportionate attention because of the impact it can have on parents, students, and teachers. In 2019, there were 1,265 general complaints against Texas educators. A few years later, in 2023, that number had more than doubled to 2,595. The TEA wants $17 million to better handle the uptick.
We've asked for a slight increase because of the increased number of complaints, misconduct allegations, and others that we're experiencing.
87-year-old Restriano is on a roll after playing the perfect game.
Triano started bowling over 50 years ago, getting into the game because his children, and eventually fell in love with the sport. He bowls at Java Lanes in Corning every Tuesday in the Senior League as well as Wednesdays at a more competitive league, which according to him is more up to his speed.
At my ripe old age, it's something I can still do and reasonably good. I enjoy the competition. I enjoy the people that we're able to bowl with.
It was the worst case scenario for Raquel Perez.
It happened so fast that he just clamped onto my calf.
Her cycling group was out in Elmendorf when a dog started chasing them. It ran away once, but came back aiming for her.
It could have been worse. I could have fell, and I think had I have fallen, he would have done some serious damage.
She says the dog owner stood and watched the whole thing. The Bexar County Sheriff's Office tells us he's now facing several citations, the dog placed into quarantine. And when Raquel started sharing her story, she learned something troubling.
Apparently this dog has chased a lot of cyclists,
including some in her group.
Tonight, the 2025 nominees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame have been revealed. Coming up, which of your favorite artists are on the list? Nominees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction have been released. 14 performers are on that ballot, and they include Chubby Checker, Outkast, Billy Idol, Mariah Carey, and Cyndi Lauper. The list also includes musical family groups The Black Crowes and Oasis. The inductees are expected to be revealed sometime in April. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony will take place later this year in Los Angeles. Best of luck to all of them. And that does it for this edition of the National News Desk. We invite you to join us again this evening for more coverage on America's top stories. I'm Amira David. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.